How's it going, everyone? Hopefully you're doing well. Today we're going to be talking about just tips for new players, or players that aren't so great at the game that want to learn some tips along the way. Now I'm going to break this down into certain sections. There's going to be this half of the video with just some random gameplay in the background. By the way, I wouldn't recommend you do this with an IS-6, and also there'll be the second half where I go into detail about kind of more the garage and the UI and stuff like that to help you set it up. The first thing that I want to talk about is what happens when you die in game. Obviously you can't go and use that tank again. And let's say that you're grinding up only one tank line at a time. Why do you leave the game and just sit there in the garage? Why not think about how you died? Because when you think about how you died, you can then learn and not make that mistake again. Because obviously it's a mistake that you died. Think about every single possible way that you could have done to not die. And it could be that you need to rethink and, in your mind, imagine, what did I do wrong at the start of the game? If need be, go and watch the replays. Make sure that you have all the replays saved. It doesn't take up a lot of space on your hard drive. If you do, are conscious about that fact. And it does nothing to the performance of the game. So you might as well save all your replays. And you can delete them manually if you really need to. But if you really want to go and get into the nitty-gritty stuff about the game, go and watch the replays and see exactly how you died and what you did wrong. Yes, there's going to be times where your team is useless. Unfortunately, there's nothing that you can really do about that, but it doesn't happen as often as you think. Majority of the time, it's going to be your fault, the reason that you died. Either you just picked a bad position for correlation of your team, or you just misplayed yourself and got outplayed by the enemy. And I don't mean, getting shot across the map by RT and getting set on fire, because that is just stupid. However, majority of the time, it is your fault that you died. So try and really understand why you died and what you could have done differently. Now, the next thing is going to be kind of similar, because you're going to be analysing stuff again, but watch people who are better than you. And by that, I don't mean just go and watch me. Go and watch people like the Killzor, Ayuk and Skill for LTU. Those three people I'd recommend. They explain themselves pretty well, and they're not really they're not against advice for new players, right? If you have something that you don't know, then you could ask them. So yeah, if you're new to the game, just watch them and see how they play and what positions they go into, and then hopefully you can then put that into practice into your games. Obviously they're not going to be playing the same tanks as you, however they do have good, especially Skill. He has YouTube videos on pretty much every single tank, so you can use that to your advantage and go and watch a video from him. So watch people that are better than you and then try and learn from that. Make sure you take note of when they move in correlation of their team and where they are in correlation of their team, because when they move, it's then time to push the tempo up and try and get into the game. Or they're losing very badly and they want to try and, force their hand on the enemy team. So you'll learn through experience, and experience is the best way of getting better at this game. And the best tip that I can give you is just to play more. It sounds completely stupid and, duh, but it's true. The more that you play on this game, the better you're going to become. Nobody is going to just suddenly load up one of the tanks and become a god gamer at this game, because there's so many different factors that come into this game, and some of them are completely stupid, like artillery, but some of them are just mechanically, you just don't know about them until you learn. Weak spots on tanks. Yes, there are weak spots on tanks. Like, you can overmatch a lot of the plates depending on the caliber of your gun. You just don't know that until you have experience with it. You get penned by someone who is, over there, and you think, oh, he shouldn't be able to pen me. But apparently, the top of your turret has an overmatched spot. You learn from it. You then learn that you can move your gun up and then block that that overmatched spot. So there's lots and lots of different ways that you can learn from different experiences when you play the game. Now, my next thing that I'm going to say, and it's going to be very, very controversial because free-to-play players love to make a scene out of this, is don't be afraid to fire premium ammo. Now, even if you are a completely free-to-play player, you can still fire premium ammo. So let's say you're in a tier 5 game, and you're in a KV1, and you come up against an OI, and that's a tier higher than you. So, you're going to need to load gold against that target. You can obviously pen its, weaker spot of the armor. However, if you pen with premium rounds, you are not going to lose that many credits. And it's important that I say if you pen, because if you don't pen and you just keep firing them willy-nilly, that is when you're going to run into problems. And I'm not saying load full premium and you're going to make profit, because you're not. But in small moderations, as long as you pen those shots, you are not going to lose and hemorrhage millions upon millions of credits just for firing 10 rounds of gold. It's not how it works. As long as you do damage, you'll be okay. And so many people who are kind of just scared of premium ammo for no real reason, because they think it costs a million, shots around, and it really just doesn't. And you're going to need it in some situations. Now, next we're going to talk about trading. And what I mean by this is when you take a hit and the enemy takes a hit at the same time. Now, effective trades are going to be trades where you come out with the better overall kind of damage. So let's say you take a trade with an IS, which is tier 7 heavy tank, which has 390 alpha, and you have a tank where, let's say KV1, your bottom tier, and you peek out, you do 180 to him, he does 390 to you. That's not an effective trade. That is not a trade that you want to be doing. And that is what I see a lot of people make a mistake of. They don't know the alpha of the guns that are going to be firing against them. So they peek all the way out, take the shot, they do like 180 damage, they're really happy with themselves, and then they take 390 in return. And they're just, that's half their hit points gone, almost. So, the thing that I'm going to say is learn the guns, take a look through the tech tree of all the tanks that you're going to meet. Maybe not, all of them, because that will take you a very long time, but maybe the specific class that you're going to meet the most of. So if you're in a heavy tank, go and have a look at the most popular, Russian, German, British, kind of heavy tanks, and have a look at them. What different guns they have, what alpha damage they have. Just the more and more knowledge that you gain, the better that it will be for you. Again, experience and knowledge will give you a better result in the end. So just take a look at it and don't try and make bad trades with, different tanks. Know your alpha and know the enemy's alpha is what I'm trying to say. And if you know that you can get a shot off on a tank and not receive a shot in return, obviously do it. Effective trades are always the best way of getting more XP, more credits, and just, generally improving. So always take that shot when you see that he's facing the other way and you know there's no one else around. It's a very, very kind of obvious thing, but not everyone does it. And obviously, everything comes with time, so. Now the next part of this is going to be for in the garage and kind of UI elements that are really, really helpful, that everyone should have turned on. So first of all, let's say that you've been going down a tech tree line, the Churchill line, for example. Look at all these guns. You've been upgrading, you've got the turret, you've got the gun, and you've got this gun, and all of these guns are then just sitting there doing nothing. You go to depot, you go to modules, and you should see quite a few guns there that you can then sell. You can also sell them when you sell the tank. However, not many people do that, and I see a lot of people just with loads and loads of modules here, which are just old modules that are not used anymore on tanks that they don't even have anymore, just sitting here doing nothing. You can gain a lot of money from just selling these, depending on, of course, how many you have. So I'd recommend everyone to go and have a look at the modules, no matter whether you're a new player, an old player, it doesn't matter. Go and have a look at the modules and see if you've got any laying around. Some of you might not, some of you might already know this, but there you go. Also for the shells, the exact same thing. You might have a load of shells laying around, so take a look at that as well. Consumables is something that I wouldn't sell. However, if you don't use large repair kits or large first aid kits or stuff like that, then obviously sell them, and you can gain a nice little bit of credits from that. Automatic fire extinguishers do not sell unless you have like loads and loads of them for some reason, because these you should actually use. If you are completely free to play and you don't have a premium account and stuff like that, and you can't really afford to use premium consumables, then just use automatic fire extinguishers. Don't ever use a manual fire extinguisher. It's not worth it. You might as well use the automatic one, because this actually gives a flat 10% reduction to fire chance at all times. So you might as well just use these, and then your tank is 10% less likely to get set on fire. Now, that's the kind of easy garage tips out the way. Settings. First things first, make sure your vehicle tier is on and tick these 3. The last one is kind of personal preference. However, if you restrict the toggling of the sniper mode to the shift key, then obviously you can't zoom in and out all the way into your sniper mode. Now, I love to do this because it's, one, a lot faster, because you can just quickly press shift and you're in sniper mode instantly. And also, once you're in sniper mode, you can then just flick the scroll wheel all the way back to get back to the 2x zoom, rather than kind of you just go slowly back until you get to 2x. You can just flick this thing like there's no tomorrow, and then you're in 2x, and you won't go out of the sniper mode either. So I really like it for that reason. And also you can zoom all the way in the third person mode and look around and kind of get a better perspective of it without entering the sniper mode. So that's why I like using that. 16 times and 25 times are just a must. You don't necessarily need them all the time, and I'd recommend you only zoom in as much as you need to. However, it is nicer to have at longer ranges. Obviously, it's not going to make any difference to your gun's accuracy, as most of the time it's not going to go anywhere near where you're aiming if you're aiming that far away, but it's a nice thing to have. Horizontal stabilization in sniper mode is nice. It's one of the most kind of needed things, as when you turn your hull, it doesn't then turn the camera all the way around if you're in sniper mode. So it's really nice to have. Preferred sniper zoom level is just up to you. Some people like it on 2x, some people like it on last used. I just leave it on last used. I don't really care too much. As I said, I can just flick the mouse all the way, or the mouse scroll all the way back, so if I want to get to 2x. So now for these, make sure all of these are ticked, especially vehicle marker on battle score panel, because that will show you the, well, if you have a look here, it will show you the actual tank icons at the top. So make sure that's ticked. And these two things on the minimap, the directional beam, which will show you whereabouts you're looking on the minimap, and the display icon on the SPG, if you use SPGs that is, will be on the minimap. But all of these, repair time, previous battle, like you might as well just enable them, because it makes the quality of life so much nicer in World of Tanks. You can then see if you're already in a next game, you can see what the battle result was. It will appear on the left hand side of your screen for the previous battle result, and also show the repair time down the bottom left for damaged modules. So while say you get your track blown off, if you enable this, it will tell you how many seconds you have until your track comes back on. So really useful stuff there. Enable expanded minimap features, always. This shows you the tanks' names and icons and stuff like that. So really useful. And these two just get overlooked by absolutely everyone. If you enable minimap on these two, I mean, ranked battles not so much, because ranked battles is, for not really new players. But if you enable minimap, what this does, say you have a really bad PC. When you load into the game, it will display the minimap in the middle of your screen, and it will tell you which base you've spawned at. So it will obviously display your base in green, and then the enemy base in red or blue, depending on if you use colorblind mode or not. So really useful, because then you can plan on where you're going to go if you do have a slower PC. And you need to enable all of these, because these are the indicators on the minimap for view range, spotting range, and you also have the proximity range. So all of these are really useful. Now, next, battle notifications. Make sure that you have these ticked, as it will tell you a much more in-depth kind of information on where you're getting shot from and also how much damage you do. So, or how much damage you've taken, sorry. So really, really useful that you have these. Because without them, you're kind of just, well, you'll just see that. And that's not exactly useful, is it? Oh, look, we've been hit from over there. What am I meant to do with that? So use advanced and it will tell you the pinpoint precise location of where it's coming from and what tank it was and how much damage it done. Battle events, up to you really. You don't have to have the vehicle name or the event name, but I like to leave it all on. Up to you, complete personal preference. Same with the log. I like to have it like this, where my damage is on the bottom and my damage received is at the top. So yeah, again, mess around with it, see what you like. Map order doesn't really matter. And this one is the most important. Tick these three. I wouldn't recommend ticking this, purely for the fact that the scoreboard up here on the scoreboard panel with the kind of enemies icons, if you do this, let's say you have an artillery and it's a tier 6, it will then be there. Whereas usually, and again, this is kind of people who have played this game for a long time as well, but usually you just look top right, there you go. That's how many SPGs there are. Whereas this one, you have to kind of look through and look for the SPG and then see if he's there. Whereas this, how many light tanks are there? Well, that's going to be next to the SPGs at the end. There's 3. Okay, nice. It's very, very easy to look at and see how many heavy tanks. Well, they're going to be right at the start. They're there. Whereas this is going to be, how many heavy tanks do they have? Okay, they have 2. Luckily enough, it's at tier 5. But what about light tanks? Well, there's 2 there, and there's 1 there. You see what I mean? It's very, very easy to just look right there without this on. So, don't get me wrong, this is a nice feature to have, but it doesn't work as well as I thought it would. So, I like to just leave it like that. Now, graphics. I've spoken about graphics and stuff like that a lot, but make sure that you don't have motion blur on and also disable extra effects and stuff like that. It doesn't help in any way. Also, you can disable tessellation if you really want to, if you don't have a really, really great computer. It doesn't help. Like, the more stuff that you have cluttered around your screen, the less information that you're going to really be able to take in. It's just nicer and cleaner to have no kind of exhaust smoke and, wreckage fire smoke coming out of this stuff. It's just easier to aim and easier to play when you don't have those kind of things on. And the last thing I want to talk about is sensitivity. So, this is going to be obviously very personal preference. However, lower your sensitivity to the stage where you can actually play the game still. What do I mean by that? Keep lowering it and keep lowering it until you can't, move around as easily. I know not everyone has a luxury of having a big mouse pad or, a big, working area or desk. So just play and keep lowering the sense until you feel comfortable with it. It might be that you're comfortable is kind of what you're used to and it's going to be a lot higher, but keep going down until you physically can't really move the mouse anymore within the space that you have. The lower sensitivity, the better. I know that I came from CS, so I'm kind of used to low sense, and trust me, once you go to a low sense, it's so much easier to aim and just track people. By that I mean not tracking as in, shooting the tracks. I mean just following them. And just generally playing at lower sensitivity is a lot better. I see so many people that have super high sense and then wonder why they can't hit anything. So just lower it down to what you feel comfortable with, or what your desk space allows. Just go as low as possible for your setup. And that has been it for the new players tips that I can give you. Let me know in the comments down below if any of these you took and have helped you out. And of course, leave a like and subscribe as it does all help me out greatly. And I'll see you in the next one.